these CDs. These are abilities you can
That's
press while waiting
fucking
for your other
hilarious,
abilities
dude.
to come off of their
I
global
was,
cooldown. All of this to say that while the combat was that Square Enix does not hold back when it comes to ability and spell animations. When you cast a
I have
spell,
been,
you
yeah, I've just been
absolutely get
talking
a
to
sense that you're
myself.
doing something truly amazing, as they have done
Yeah.
a fantastic job of making each spell epic to
It's
watch.
all
As
good, though.
expected, the higher your level, the more epic the abilities look. This serves to help your abilities feel more impactful, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
It
we're
also
good
makes it
now,
really
man.
fun to use.
I
Character
I'm I hope
customization.
you're doing
One
good
of my
too,
favorite
NorCal,
pastimes in
by
any
the way.
MMO is making my character look awesome. Every game has its own degree of cosmetic customization that it affords you. So how does Final Fantasy rank? Final Fantasy has a great character creation screen that allows you to choose from multiple races with tons of
It
sliders that allow you to
does.
create a character unique to you. It's not groundbreaking, but it's solid and I've got no complaints. Where the character customization really shines is once you get into the game. You will constantly be finding gear
Fucking ads. Yeah, that shit, dude. Oh my god. There's a streamer that does. There's a streamer that actually does a like a fashion show in Final Fantasy 14. This game has so many fucking good customizations. But what I'm watching right now, NorCal, is should you play Final Fantasy 14 2022? Lucky Ghost made this video, and I'm just reacting to it. Although apparently I've reacted to over half of the video, and you guys couldn't even hear it. So that's a motherfucker. It's okay. Oh,
in your dresser and apply it to any
now
weapon you put on thereafter. Final Fantasy XIV has no problem with your
I'm
character looking
fucking
as
up.
cool or even as ridiculous
It'd
as
be
you
like that
desire. It
sometimes,
gives you
yeah.
a lot of freedom in deciding what you look like, and it provides a ton of avenues for you to go and earn the cosmetics in game. This is a very important topic, and we'll come back to it because a common saying in MMOs is fashion is the end game. Once you've beat the dungeons and the
Right.
raids, you farm the
Yeah.
cosmetics so your character can look like a god's damned legend. A lot of other MMOs will
Right.
sell all the best cosmetics in the cash shop, and then the entire endgame experience is a hollow husk of what it was meant to be. Fortunately, Final Fantasy is not guilty of this. You can see a
Yeah.
really cool weapon, and then you can go farm that really cool weapon, thereby causing your character to look legendary. It's such an important thing in
Right.
an MMO, and it's something so many MMOs have failed at. Speaking of cosmetics that are a huge part of MMO endgame, let's talk about mounts. One thing that always feels good in an MMO is earning that epic mount you've wanted so badly.
It
Final Fantasy has
is.
one of the strongest mount games of any MMO out today, with over 180 mounts players have been able to earn in-game. The scope and variety of these
Right.
mounts that you can earn
That's a lot
in-game
of
is simply
mounts.
insane. Next, let's talk about the population health. All of this is well and fine, but none of it matters if the game's dead. How's the Final Fantasy population?
The New
Well,
World
if you're
messed
here,
up
you probably
everything.
already know. There's only one word to describe it right now, and that
Yeah,
is
no mounts at all.
massive. If we look at this chart here, you can see that there are a lot of very familiar names. None of them are anywhere
there's so many reasons why Final Fantasy 14 is so good. It was ahead of its time, you know, like that. You know that. That's why they released it early. It was messed up, and they fixed it in 2 years. You know, but it was like it's always been a game. All the whole Final Fantasy franchise has been. I feel like it's one of those video game franchises that's kind of always been just a little bit ahead of the time that they're releasing stuff. You know, and it's a good thing because I mean it's good content in that case, you know. But yeah, I fucking love this. But they took the time to add stuff like that, to add shit they know that players are gonna want, you know. Where New World didn't do jack shit to like add mounts or like even add half of the stuff like Final Fantasy added to their MMO. And not just this MMO with Final Fantasy 14, but even Final Fantasy 11 back in the day. That game, Final Fantasy 11, was released in like 2004, 2005, or some shit like that, or earlier. May have even been earlier than that. It was released, and the shit is still more. That game right there is still more popular than fucking New World ended up being. It's crazy because that's a fucking, you know, almost a 20-year-old game and shit, and still better than fucking New World. As far as MMOs go, like New World was just hot garbage, you know, and Lost Ark, you know, they're. I've heard that the majority of the Lost Ark community is bots now. We can get into that later. Actually, we can look up a video on the bots and Lost Ark later on. But yeah, I've heard that there's a big majority of the Lost Ark community that is just bots, man, and it's it's sad because I think these games had potential to do better, but they just didn't, because they were just thrown together kind of lazily, like it just wasn't. I've seen warehouses filled with PCs that have bots playing Lost Ark, not in person, just online. Holy shit, dude, that's crazy, man. Wow. Holy fuck. I'd like to see those videos, I'm not gonna lie. But that's fucking insane. Let me get back into this.
Near
I
Final Fantasy in
appreciate you
terms of
dropping in
population
too,
size. It
Norco.
has
It's
double
always good
second
to
place
see
and
you.
triple or quadruple or more when compared to other well-known MMOs. You can argue that this chart isn't 100% accurate, but what you can't argue is the fact that Final Fantasy XIV has one of, if not the largest population of any MMO out today. It's huge. And if
Really?
you watched this
I didn't
far, you're
realize it was
starting to see
that
why.
big.
There's only one thing
I
that can
mean, I
possibly
can see
derail this
that.
train now. It's a make or break topic for so many players and has ruined a lot of great
Nice.
MMOs. And that's the monetization. The story is amazing. The group content is
Right.
amazing. The
It
Final
is.
Fantasy player base is stronger than ever. So, did the devs abuse that love and nostalgia for a franchise that has been so important to so many? I've watched firsthand as other MMOs have done this to their franchise. I am so pleased to report that Final Fantasy XIV is perhaps the most consumer-friendly MMO I've played to date. The best cosmetics are earned in-game. The best gear is earned in-game. The best mounts, you guessed it, they're earned in-game. There are
Yeah.
no classes or
It's not a
races
pay to
sold
win,
separately as DLCs, and there are tons of all of these things to be earned in-game, and the sheer quantity of cosmetics that you can earn game is mind-boggling. I have never
Right.
once opened the cash shop, nor have I felt like I needed to. In fact, it's not
Yeah.
uncommon for a player to not even know it exists because they don't even put it in the game. You have to close the
Right.
game and go to their website if you want to see what they sell. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's the truest,
That
most
is
unadulterated
nice.
MMO experience I've had in a long time. My subscription gets
I think that's so important, like that they do that, because honestly, whenever some of these games like throw shit in your face, like buy this, buy that, check out this fucking latest skin that you could just buy instead of earning, that shit's annoying, like everything that you have for sale just being thrown at you as soon as you log into to whatever said fucking game, there's a million examples out there of this, making it with Final Fantasy, making it to where you have to go to their website to see that shit because they don't throw it in your face, and their game legitimately, you could, like this guy's saying, you could farm you could farm all this, you could farm a lot of stuff, Um, it's good. It's good. It doesn't turn you away. It's not like it doesn't make you want to sit, but just be like, fuck this game. Like just trying to shove shit down people's throats that they don't fucking want. Like, that's gross. Don't do that. I can't stand that shit. Like game devs and stuff that do that. It's gross, and it's just not appealing to me. Even if it's cool, it could be a cool item that they're trying to get me to buy. It could be dope as fuck, honestly, and I still won't want it just because of the way that they presented it. It's like I'd rather just play with the fucking skins that they give me just because they annoyed me with the fucking ones they want me to pay for.
gets me everything. And guess what? That mentality of trying to make money by making a great game instead of by trying to extract money from their player base at every turn has resulted in this game being massively successful and loved by its community.
Right.
No surprise. In summary, the
Not
solo
surprised
content
at
is
all.
second to none. I'll admit it, it can be a bit heavy in the dialogue boxes that they want you to read sometimes. There have been moments I wondered why the cutscene I watched wasn't 5 seconds longer so that I didn't have to read 3 more, much less immersive speech bubbles when I got out of it. But that's really nitpicking on my part. The brilliantly voice acted
Right.
cinematics, the way they weave the dungeons and trials into the story, and then close them out with a cutscene that leaves your jaw on the floor. My god. Other MMOs, take note. This is how you write a story that leaves the players wanting
It's a
to
good
quest for the
story.
story rather than simply for the
All the
reward.
Final
There seems
Fantasy
to be a rather
stories are
common
good.
opinion that the earlier quests are the slowest, with the story just continually getting better and better as you
Right.
go along. I think I definitely
It's
agree with
true.
this sentiment, not because the early story was bad, but because their most recent expansions have been so damn good. Group content is amazing.
You don't start
While the
getting into the
dungeons and
game till
alliance
after
raids are
level 50.
oftentimes too easy for my masochistic soul, the extreme, savage, and ultimate difficulty content is where I can go for a fun challenge. I like difficult. I like to die when I fail a mechanic, and the dungeons are, in my opinion, too forgiving in this regard. Fortunately for those of you who, like me, enjoy challenging content, Final Fantasy XIV has tons of it, and it happens to be my favorite content in the game, the 8-man trials and raids. The PvP is fine, but I haven't been blown away
It's
by it
good
like I have the
content.
PvE. I've tended to default to PvE in MMOs that separate the PvP into a side minigame like Final Fantasy does, and so the PvP for Final Fantasy XIV hasn't grabbed hold of me yet, largely because there's so much amazing PvE content constantly whispering sweet nothings into my ear. The combat is great,
Right.
and it really shines when you get out of your early levels and unlock your class gauge. Gameplay between classes feels genuinely different. Skill animations and limit breaks are so beautifully made. There is so much effort put into them that you
Right.
can't help but feel amazing while firing off your abilities. You will constantly have that proud moment where you think to yourself, hell yeah, that was